Hi, you're listening to Everyday Superpower, a place where you can take some time to learn to understand the benefits of being able to correctly read body language and nonverbal communication. How to understand how our bodies send messages outside of our conscious awareness, which really do reveal what we truly think. So, in learning this information, essentially you're going to be able to read the minds of others purely by observing their behaviors and gestures. Okay? So, if you enjoy what you hear and you wish to learn more, I would recommend you click subscribe, purely as I am uploading frequently and I am developing quite a bit of a catalogue, so please feel free to do so. Thank you. Okay, so today's lesson is going to be regarding the mouth, and it's going to be in regards to a gesture you may see from time to time, the biting of the lip. Okay, so you can bite the top lip, but more than likely it's going to be the bottom lip you'll see as shown in the photo before you. Okay, it's in response to a particular stimuli, which we will delve in deeper to understand what it means, whether it's a good thing, and how it applies to you. And so we'll get stuck in, right? So this is a sign of self-restraint. Okay, so we've spoken on mouth blocking behaviors, and what a mouth blocking behavior is a subconscious act of covering the mouth through a very indirect manner, whether it's scratching your nose whilst covering your mouth, whether it's just unconsciously placing your mouth or another object or so on and so forth before the mouth to block it, all right? Subconsciously preventing words or potential thoughts to come out verbally, okay? So it's a sign of self-restraint. You can approach it as something like that. Now, a woman can do it to hold back negative or perhaps even sexual thoughts. So when people see the biting of the lip, they tend to associate it with sexuality and arousal, which is definitely true. This is how it's advertised, and this is definitely true in the case of most times you will see this signal. It still is a holding back, it still is a restraint, okay, as the person may not want to outright jump on whom they are communicating with, or perhaps act on the thoughts that are crossing their minds. So they are still restraining themselves, but it's coming through in a manner as to which is displaying, a verbal restraint, a holding back of the mouth, the verbal behaviour. My apologies there. My mind drifted a little. So sexually, if you want to really make sure that it's in a sexual context, you have to pay attention to the clusters, right? So a cluster is the whole picture, the big picture, the entire body, and paying attention to the environment and the context as to where it shows up. And you really need to dial in your observation skills to ensure that it happens in a time appropriate with where you can place it towards a particular answer. So sexually, it's usually matched with eye contact of some sorts. Now, it might not necessarily be towards your eyes. They may be looking at a particular body part, or perhaps even food, you know what I mean? They may be stimulated and feel they need to restrain from just exploding emotionally on what has aroused the brain at that particular time, okay? So when we talk about biting one's lip, we refer to holding back information, all right? So let's have a look at the other side of things. If we had to approach it from a restraint, let's say a person is in a meeting and biting their lip in this manner. What I would do personally is ensure that there's no sort of sexualized cluster of language that surrounds it, because I do associate this behavior as the picture in front of you. I do associate it with sexuality first and foremost before a mouth blocking behavior and a restraint of negative feelings. I always sort of approach it to arousal, at least when I see it for the most part. So what I do is I tick the boxes to ensure that it isn't necessarily a state of arousal that has caused this behavior. Have a look at the surroundings. So let's say, for example, an individual is watching their boss speak at a meeting in a in a big job meeting with the colleagues, and you see this behavior, this form of restraint. Now, they may be looking at somebody speaking, the boss speaking at that particular time, and using this behaviour as a subconscious way, thinking you should stop talking, you should be holding yourself back. Or perhaps they are internalising their own thoughts, thinking I don't want to talk and I should hold back what I want to say right now. Okay? So, alongside that is a pacifying behaviour. Now, what do we know about pacifying behaviours? Pacifying behaviours are self-soothing behaviours, okay? So when we touch ourselves in subconscious ways and, so on and so forth, we are provoking the nerve endings on our skin in these various regions to combat stress and anxiety and send positive endorphins to the brain. So the lip is covered in them, all right? So any sort of lip touching sends a feel-good endorphin to the brain. And so you will see people touching their lips, picking at their lips, putting a pen to their lips, so on and so forth in stressful situations, just to counteract that feeling. And for the most part, it's on a subconscious basis, so they won't even be aware they're doing it until, so far into the act that they consciously acknowledge that they've been messing around with their lips. So it can also be a pacifying behaviour, and that's both in the verbal restraint, I want to say something but won't way, and the sexualized, the sexually charged variant. It's both pacifying in the face of nervous, anxious energy. All right, it feels good to do, right? So, yeah, it's a restraint it's a restraint from bursting. A natural sexual desire whilst dating or whilst talking to an individual generally who they're attracted to. And I hope this lesson has been of benefit. So if you do take one thing from this lesson, if you see this behavior, okay, personally, I would check out if it is sexually charged. So you'd look at the cluster, have a look at where the eyes are directed, have a look if the pupils are dilated, have a look if there's any fidgeting or self-sexualized, self-soothing with the fingers and so on and so forth. And if that's not the case, or perhaps it was self-explanatory from the get-go, it's a sign of nervous verbal restraint, where they feel like they should say something and they are holding back, literally gripping the lip to ensure that the mouth doesn't open and words don't come out. So you have to pay attention as to the environment with this particular gesture. I hope that this has been of benefit. I'm going to start a Patreon soon, so people who are interested can support me with the information I provide, and in doing so you will have a whole wealth of information at your hands. You'll be able to essentially order in a way your own videos, so you can inquire and you'll get a response, and we'll make a video out of it and we'll go onwards and upwards. But yeah, you've been listening to Everyday Superpower. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.